Hey, welcome to Wow Wednesday, where we share words of wisdom. Please like, comment, share, and or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kalia Patton. Now, I pray that your Wednesday is going super duper well on this wonderful Wednesday. Now, last Wednesday, we had an awesome topic that I want to continue, and I want to give another twist to the topic. And the title of this topic is When God Blocks Your Plans. When God blocks your plans. And so, how many of you know that God can actually block our plans? He has designed our life in such a way. He has orchestrated it in such a way that if we try to mess it up, you feel what I'm saying? If we try to go in the direction that he does not want us to go in, he will block the plans that we have designed for ourselves, the plans that we have created for ourselves. And I have some examples, and I want to give my examples because I wanted to share my testimony in that I know that there are situations that I have been through that God has blocked my plans. And so, one case in point, I want to talk about the first one. I guess I can talk about is the one where I was in a relationship with a guy. And so my first relationship that I had, the first love, the first everything, I shared my virginity with this guy. And so what happened was my plans were that I would someday marry this guy. But in the process of all of that, I guess it was probably between 18 and 19, 17, 18, 19. I wanted to have 8 children by this man. Well, it's a young guy. I won't say it was a man. I wanted to have 8 children with this young guy. And so I tried with every other young lady that's out there in the world that's trying to do those types of things. I tried everything I could to get pregnant. I tried it all. Not one time did I even get pregnant. And it was so frustrating for me because I thought it was something going on with my body. I thought that I couldn't have children because every time we got a chance to try to have a baby, try to make a baby, I made it my business to make sure that, I availed myself to that. And much to my disappointment, every time I would take tests, never gotten pregnant, not one time. This guy, mind you, was very manipulative. He was abusive towards me, physically, sexually, mentally. He did a lot of mind games with me. And so I think he knew that he was able to have that leverage against me because I was his first, and sometimes, you kind of cling to that first person. But anyway, like I said, God blocked it. He would not allow me to get pregnant by this young guy. And matter of fact, I was some years older than him. Maybe a few years older than him. And he was younger than me, but he still had that power over me to get me to do the things that he wanted me to do. And so God blocked that. He blocked it. And what happened, he knew I didn't have sense enough to break away from that relationship. I didn't have sense enough to walk away knowing that it was toxic for me, knowing that it was bad for me. I stayed in it. I went through all the abuse, the pain, the this, the that. And he had to allow something to happen for me to see that I needed to move out of that. I needed to come out of it. And I never forget, it was the time that the girl that he was dating, cheating on me with, rather, I saw her and I saw him together and they acted like it wasn't a problem. And she had an attitude with me and she tried to say that, she was the one, this, that, and other. And I think that in my face moment, made me realize that I'm not in the right place. I need to come out of this. And so I got out of that relationship, went back and went into another relationship where I was trying to do the same thing with this next guy because he was the rebound guy. So it's like all of that emotion I was feeling, I felt hurt, betrayed, all this kind of stuff, and going to the second relationship, this next relationship, the rebound one, thinking the same thing. I want to have 8 kids by this man, blah, blah, blah. God blocked it in that relationship as well. Now, I'm not going to say I didn't go through some things with him because I went through a lot of doctor's appointments that wasn't favorable for me because being a woman, you contract all kind of stuff from guys and they doing all kind of stuff behind our backs and we don't know this kind of thing. And, me being young, me still kind of like in high school, moving on into college, and I'm still dealing with all of this foolishness and things and I was doing sinful things that wasn't looking good in the eyes of God. And so he wasn't blessing that. He blocked every attempt of me trying to have a child with this guy. And so, like I said, my mind went back to something's wrong with me. What? Something wrong with me. I have a problem. No, I didn't have a problem. God was blocking it, but I couldn't see because I was too blind to see the fact that he was blocking my plans because that was what I wanted to do. Now, fast forward, moving on into the next relationship that I ever really got into serious. My husband and I, back then during that time I was going through school, finishing up school, and God placed him in my pathway. We met, we ended up going through a dating period, and then God let us know that we were the one for one another. And so, knowing that this was God's plan for me, because I didn't know at the time, knowing that this was God's plan for me, when we got married, I kid you not, I believe it may have happened on honeymoon night. I was pregnant. I was pregnant before that year, before we even experienced our year of, just enjoying the way, enjoying being married for that little period of time. And was pregnant. And so then that let me know. I said, well, God, during the time I was out there doing my own thing, being foolish, didn't know what I was getting myself into, you blocked my womb from carrying a child that you knew down the road wasn't going to be the favorable situation for me. You didn't want that for me because those two guys, one was locked up in jail. And one is on the street. He done lost his mind because he was the one that did so much abuse towards me. Now mentally he gone. See what I'm saying? That's how God does things. But I'm here to tell you, there are plans that we have. And sometimes we can't see further on down the road. But God sees and he knows it's not a good plan. So he will block some things from happening. He prevented me from having children because he wanted my husband that I currently have, and I've been married, it'll be 22 years this year. Been married with him. He only wanted me to have children by him only. You see what I'm saying? Some people can't afford to just make errors. Some people just can't afford to be hip hopping here, there, and everywhere and having all of these. Now, that ain't my testimony. Because, some people can attest to that, they've been here, they got one, they get here, they got another one, they've been here. That's not my testimony. My testimony is this. When I tried to do that, God blocked it. When I tried to do it my way, and I was so silly and foolish and didn't know what was going on mentally with me because I was just doing stuff haphazardly. God blocked it because he said, girl, you so silly. Let me just block. I just can't let you do this to yourself. You messing up your future. I will not allow you to mess up your future. I'm going to block it. So he blocked it. And guess what? I have 7 children. I always wanted 8. I have 7 children by my husband of 20, going on 22 years. Because God had to block what I was dealing with right there, because there was a lot of toxicity and a lot of foolery going on. And I am so happy today that he did that. But at times during the time I was going through it, I felt like I was, I was being punished. Like, why is it happening to me? Well, now looking back, and then I'm seeing myself right now currently, I am so glad that God blocked it. I'm glad he allowed it to happen. There were lessons that I learned in the process, because you're going to learn some lessons. You're going to learn some lessons along the way. Now some people have to deal with issues. I do understand that some people dealing with issues, and there may be that, like what Hagar had to deal with, what Sarah had to deal with, a lot of other characters in the Bible had to deal with. And you may have an issue. And then there are times where you say, well, I wish I would have waited. God allowed it to happen to you. My story may not be your story. But God allowed what happened to me because he wanted to position me for what he desired to do in my life. Now, he may use your issues for a testimony down the road for you, and we're not going to share the same testimony, but I'm sharing the one that I had. I'm sharing the one that I know God's hand was on my life and miracles were happening in my life. I just didn't see it at the time. I didn't know it. I didn't know what God had planned for me. I didn't. All that blocking back in the day, back when I didn't know myself, it prepared me for the now. Because if he hadn't have blocked it, I would have been probably caught up in all that stuff. And who knows? My children probably would have been visiting their daddy in the prison, that kind of stuff. So God knew. He knew. I didn't see all this stuff. I didn't see, but God knew. He knew. And I'm so happy today that I can stand and say that God blocked my plans, because I had a plan, but God had a greater plan. He was like, look, I got to block this stuff right here because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. And I'm going to give this other testimony. I'm going to wrap it up. The one that back in 2019, when I was rushing, well, I'm not going to say I was rushing. There was an opportunity that presented itself to me in the form of a job. And the guy that wanted to hire me, he was really pretty much rushing me to make a decision. He was really pushing it. Like, come on, it's a great opportunity. You're going to make a lot of good money. Come on, you don't have a whole lot of time, blah, 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 blah. And so I didn't consult God about it. I didn't do any of that. I just went on ahead and rushed on into the situation. So what happened was, I went on and got into this job, this big job offer that I had. And I got in there and it was very, very stressful for me. Mind you, I was pregnant during the time and it was early and I didn't, I found out on into the, job that, hey, I was expecting again. So I had all this pressure on me. The stress was on me. It was pulling at me. And so ended up miscarrying that child through that process. After that, I came back on the job. They were rushing me to come on back, because we got to get you, we got all these kids on the caseload. We need you back. Got back to the job and ended up, after a few weeks, going right back off the job because I was having so much anxiety to the point where my blood pressure was running high every day and I couldn't control it because I was so stressed. So I had to take some time off of that. Took time off of the miscarriage. Then right after I came off that time from being off the miscarriage, I went back to work a few weeks, ended up being back off work, because like I said, I was having this anxiety, panic attacks, and I was just so stressed out and having blood pressure issues. And so after I came off of that time of being off, got back on the job, some weeks or so later, I developed shingles. So who would have guessed that I would go through all of that in a period of 6 months? 6 months. I dealt with blow after blow after blow. Didn't have a chance to recover and heal from any of what I was dealing with. And so God had to allow those things to happen to get my attention, because really I wasn't paying attention. I jumped on in there. I didn't consult with him, and he was trying to block me from going. He was trying to block it. His blocking was in the form of me going through the things that I had to encounter. Now, some of these things that we encounter in life, mind you, is painful, it hurts, and all of that good stuff. But there are lessons that are learned through that process of that hurting and that pain. You know, no, you think about, oh, you're losing a child. Oh, that's terrible. You can't say that, God did that, to curse you or anything like that. Not saying that. What I'm saying is, had I consulted God on the matter, some of the things that I went through would have been prevented. I would have prevented myself from even going through that, but the fact that I went through it, that was a lesson learned for me, that in the midst of all of that, God was blocking some things, but I just wasn't paying attention to the blocking. And so, I experienced it. Yes, I had to go through a lot of other deeper healing situations because I was blaming the guy that hired me for everything that was going on with me. But then God had to pull me to the side and slow me down and say, look, that wasn't his fault. You made the choice and the decision to accept that offer. You didn't even consult me about it. And so now I had to take ownership. And so I said, Lord, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I release him from this. I forgive him for anything that I felt and harbored in my heart concerning this whole situation. And so God had to heal me through that. Now I'm currently working with him. I'm working with him. We do well together, and I don't harbor any anger or anything like that, bad feelings about anything that we've gone through together. But I'm just saying all that to say this. Look, you have to understand that when God has a call on your life, there are situations that you will go through and encounter that will let you know that you've chosen, that will let you know that God has called you out. He's picked you out among the many. Yes, they might have done it, but you can't do it.